20 years ago, my husband passed, and every single person in my life told me the same thing. Dorothy, you cannot live alone. You need someone. I listened to them for about 6 months. Then I stopped. And I want to tell you today, those 20 years alone, the best years of my entire life. Now let me tell you why. My name is Dorothy. I was born in 1936 in a small town in Georgia, third of 6 children. Never a quiet moment in that house. I married my husband Robert at 22, taught school for 31 years, raised 2 children, ran the household, cooked every meal, managed everything. Robert was a good man. I want to say that first. He loved me. I loved him. But when you spend 46 years taking care of everyone else, your husband, your children, your students, you forget something very important. You forget who you are. I didn't know that when Robert passed. I didn't find out until I was finally, truly, completely alone. And then, slowly, I started to remember. I won't lie to you and tell you it was easy from the start. The first year, Lord have mercy. The house was so quiet, I could hear the refrigerator hum from the bedroom. I'd set the table for 2 out of pure habit, then stand there looking at that empty chair. My daughter called every day, bless her heart. My son wanted me to move closer to him up in Tennessee. My church friends kept bringing casseroles. Everybody was so afraid for me. But here is what nobody understood. I wasn't falling apart. I was falling open. For the first time in 46 years, nobody needed anything from me. No one was waiting on dinner. No one needed help with homework. No papers to grade, no lessons to plan. Just me and that quiet house. And for the first time, I could actually hear myself think. And what I thought was, Dorothy, who are you? What do you want? I had never asked myself that question, not once. In 68 years of living, so I started finding out. First thing I did, I rearranged the whole house. Robert liked everything a certain way, bless him. Furniture in certain places, TV on certain programs, dinner at 6 o'clock sharp. The week after his first anniversary, I moved every piece of furniture in the living room. I put the armchair right by the window, this one right here. I hung a painting I'd always loved that Robert thought was too colorful. I started eating dinner at whatever time I felt like it, sometimes 8 o'clock. Sometimes 5. Sometimes I'd just eat crackers and cheese and read a book and call it perfect. And something happened. The house stopped feeling like a place where someone was missing. It started feeling like mine. Then I started going back to things I'd given up. I used to paint watercolors when I was young, before Robert, before teaching, before all of it. I found my old brushes in a box in the closet. I painted every single morning for a year, not because anyone asked me to, not because it was productive, just because it made me feel like Dorothy again, the Dorothy who existed before she became somebody's wife, somebody's mother, somebody's teacher. I took a trip to Savannah by myself, first trip I'd ever taken alone in my life. I was 70 years old. I sat by the water. I ate what I wanted. I walked when I wanted and stopped when I wanted. Nobody needed anything from me for 4 whole days. I cried on the drive home, not from sadness, from relief. Like something I'd been carrying for decades had finally been set down. Now I want to talk about something important. Because people mix up 2 things that are very different. Being alone and being lonely. Those are not the same thing, not even close. I have been alone for 20 years. I have been lonely for maybe a handful of days in all that time. Lonely is when you are around people who don't see you. I spent decades in rooms full of people, feeling invisible. As a wife, as a teacher, as a mother, doing and doing and doing, and nobody ever once asked, "Dorothy, how are you doing?" Now I have a small circle. My daughter visits on Sundays. I have 2 friends I've known since 1965. We have lunch every other Wednesday. I call my son on Saturdays. That's it. That's my whole social life. And it is rich, and it is full, and it is enough. Because these people, this small handful, they actually see me. They know who I am. They are not here out of obligation. They choose to be here. Quality, child, not quantity. When you spend your whole life surrounded by noise, family noise, social noise, other people's needs, you start to think the noise is life. It isn't. The noise was just covering up the life you hadn't lived yet. Here is what 20 years of solitude taught me. And I mean real solitude. Chosen, intentional, peaceful. First, I learned what I actually like. Not what Robert liked. Not what my children needed. Not what the school expected. What I, Dorothy Mae Henderson, actually enjoy. Turns out I like mornings more than evenings. I like rain more than sunshine. I like silence more than music. I like one good book more than 10 okay ones. Simple things, but they're mine. Second, I stopped performing. When you live alone, there's no audience. You don't have to be cheerful when you're tired. You don't have to be strong when you're scared. You don't have to be anything other than exactly what you are. That kind of honesty with yourself, it changes you, quietly, deeply. Third, I got comfortable with my own company, and that is the most valuable thing a human being can learn. If you cannot sit quietly in a room with yourself, you will spend your whole life running to people, to screens, to noise, to busyness, anything to avoid the one person you can never escape, yourself. I spent 70 years running. These last 20, I finally stopped. And what I found when I stopped running? I liked her. That woman in the quiet house. I actually liked her quite a lot. Now, I am not telling you to leave your husband. I am not telling you to push people away. That is not the lesson. The lesson is this. You need to know who you are when no one is watching. You need to have a relationship with yourself before you can have a real relationship with anyone else. Most people never get there. They go from their parents' house to their spouse's house to their children's house and then straight to the grave without ever once sitting quietly and asking themselves, what do I actually want from this one life I was given? I am 88 years old. I wake up every morning in a house that is mine. I make my tea. I sit in this chair. I watch the light come through that window, and I think, Dorothy, you are okay. You are more than okay. You are free. So if you are sitting there afraid of being alone, if someone has left or someone has passed and the quiet feels like a punishment, I want you to hear me. The quiet is not punishment. The quiet is where you find out who you were before the world told you who to be. Give it time. Give yourself grace. And one morning, I promise you, you will sit in that quiet house and you will smile, because you will finally be home.